Hi, this is Raylene from Khaleesi Clues. Today's video is all about the signs and symbols and what could they possibly mean. This video may contain spoilers for those who are not up to date with both show and books. This video is purely speculation on my part, but hopefully you will all enjoy. I wanted to start off by saying this video is really late getting out, and I apologize for that. I am new to making videos for YouTube. Please have patience as I find my way through all the ins and outs, ups and downs, and craziness of life in general and YouTube combined. I recently had a death in my family 2 days before Mother's Day. It has been a struggle to get my bearings back and balance the time needed to create new videos. I am actually on the road right now for an unexpected trip, and I happen to forget my microphone at home, so hopefully the audio for this comes out okay. But enough about me, on to the video. One of the biggest mysteries to me of this amazing story started from the very first scene of the show. It was the very first time that we saw the White Walkers. That's when the symbols were introduced to us, which of course left us all scratching our heads wondering, what is that all about? Maybe for just the normal Game of Thrones fan, when they saw the symbols, their reaction may have just been very interesting. But for crazy fans like me, who obsess over every unanswered question or clue, this type of thing sends us over the edge. Now, I know there are a ton of videos out there about these symbols. One of my favorite videos was one by a YouTuber named Game of Theories, where he stated that the symbol may possibly stand for the God's Eye or the Isle of Faces. I just remember watching that video and thinking, gosh, this is just amazing. But my mind won't stop until I know for sure exactly what those symbols mean. Like I said before, I think many of the clues have multiple meanings or references to them. Maybe the symbols are the same. So here is what I think some of these symbols may possibly mean or refer to, and please, feel free to comment on this video. I love the feedback or different ideas from other fans. The first symbol we see in the show is when Sir Waymar, Royce, Garrett, and Will are north of the wall in search of the wildlings. Will finds their camp only to discover all the people have been killed and put on display in a symbolic shape. He turns to run and also sees a young girl who is nailed to the tree with a tree branch. When Will brings Sir Waymar and Garrett back to view the area, all of the bodies are gone. While Will is off looking for the clues, Waymar and Garrett are then confronted with an actual White Walker. The White Walker kills Waymar with ease and gives chase to Garrett, leading him right back to Will. That's when we see Garrett lose his head, which is then tossed to Will. There are 3 things that stand out to me in that scene. Number 1, that crazy symbol. Number 2, the very fact that they let Will survive and get away. And number 3, the young girl that they left intact that was originally pinned to the tree. To me, this whole scene is some form of a message. The White Walkers may not speak verbally, but they are sending a cryptic message through their actions and symbols. There is a very interesting scene in the second siege of Meereen that very well may mirror the message that the White Walkers are trying to relay. In that scene, Tyrion meets with 3 representatives for the slaver cities. That's when he informs them of the following. He says, "Last time we spoke, we made a pact. You violated that pact, declared war upon us. Though our queen has a forgiving nature, this cannot be forgiven. Our queen insists that one of you must die as punishment for your crimes." That's when we see 2 of the slave masters killed, and Yezin, the slave trader, is allowed to live. Sounds a little familiar to our Night's Watchman situation, if you ask me. But Tyrion was not done. He finishes by telling the surviving man to tell your people what happened here. Tell them you live only by the grace of Her Majesty. When they come forward with notions of retribution or ideas about returning the slave cities to their former glory, remind them what happened when Daenerys Stormborn and her dragons came to Meereen. Will was the White Walker's messenger. their witness, and in essence, their warning to all others of what fate may lie ahead for them. They let him get away for this specific reason. So what was the message? Well, the message was that crazy symbol that we happened to see. The funny thing about this is I may have found a clue to the meaning of what that symbol means, and not even from the Game of Thrones show. I happened to be watching the movie King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, which, by the way, I absolutely loved. There was a scene where these boys were graffitiing the walls with some red paint. The symbol they used happened to catch my eye, which triggered my Game of Thrones antenna. I was so entranced with the symbol because it looked so similar to the White Walker symbol that I almost missed what the boys had said during the scene. In case you did not see the show or may have missed that scene, the boys said, "Return of the King." And there we have it. Return of the King. I believe that was the message Will was supposed to relay. That statement also made me think of the book Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, which, as we all know, was such an inspiration for George R.R. Martin. I know the actual symbols that are shown in the series were made by the showrunners, but you know they must have a specific meaning behind them. They are not just some random images selected out of a hat. I thought it would be a good way for the show and definitely be GRRM approved by giving a sort of tribute to Tolkien. I even Googled some of the book covers that have been in print for that story, and you can see the similarities of the symbols. That first crazy body part arrangement is not the only time we have seen the symbol in the first episode, though. We also see it later on in the show in numerous scenes, but you may have missed it, so let me show you. Take a look at the pendant that Dany and Viserys is wearing. The 3 dragon heads on top of the pendant are looking in 3 different directions, and very similarly are the heads displayed in the White Walker symbol. Now, if you have seen my previous Night King or Rhaego theory videos, you may already know that I believe the Night King is or was a Valyrian dragon lord before being turned into the first White Walker. So if this symbol does refer to the return of the king and the fact that it also resembles the Targaryen pendant, it would definitely give a little credence to my Night King theory being a dragon lord. And as for the wildling girl that is seen stuck against the tree and later standing as a wight, she must represent something too. The fact that she was the only one they left intact literally screams to me that she is part of a message. They had the choice of all the adult male or even adult female wildlings that they could have turned into a wight for their army, but instead they chose a young girl. I'm going to start with what I think is the most likely explanation. I think this young wildling girl represents a possible pact that was never fulfilled. I believe that the Night King was promised a bride. I believe that's why we see this beautiful young girl with beautiful hair pinned up against the tree with a branch stuck through her, very reminiscent of how the Night King was made and positioned. This very well may be a bit like the Frankenstein story we all know so well. This one is still very interesting to me. To tell the truth, I even thought the girl could have possibly been a young wildling boy, which would have possibly been a reference to my Rhaego returning theory, and their ages would be coinciding. She looks to me as if she is around 10 years old, which is around the age I think Rhaego will be when and if he returns. Bran's age is stated to be 10 in this episode too. Or like the theory from the other video I mentioned, could she represent the children of the forest? Like I said, these symbols can have multiple meanings. Maybe this could even be a reference to Bran and the Weirwood Tree Network. Definitely something for all of us fans to still think about. The second symbol we see left by the White Walkers is in Season 3 in the episode where the battle at the Fist of the First Men was fought. We see the remains of all of the Night's Watch horses arranged in a circular pattern. To me, This symbol looks strikingly similar to the Targaryen family sigil. Sometimes the arm from the symbol varies. I've counted 7, 8, and possibly even 9 in different images. The Targaryen sigil has 8 if you count the 3 heads, 2 wings, 1 tail, and 2 legs. You could also say it has 9 if you consider my new dragon theory video, where you see the 4th dragon in the World of Ice and Fire image. If you haven't watched that one, please check it out and hold on to your seats, because morning is coming. So if that symbol means Targaryen, or possibly blood of the dragon, what was the message? I think it was a message to the Night's Watch. The mark of the blood of the dragon, as if to say, I was here, and your men are now mine. Almost like a victory flag placed to mark a battle won. Or maybe it could have been a message to Jon. Could they have been looking for him there? If so, what would be their reason for it? Could it be because he is a Targaryen? They definitely have some type of connection. We've seen it too many times in the show. There's definitely something going on. I would like to also talk about the Night King's ice altar in the Lands of Always Winter. In this image, we see the huge ice crystals protruding out of the ground in the shape of a circle surrounding the altar that Craster's baby is placed on. If you count the crystals, there are 10. This same figure is seen surrounding the altar that we see Ned Stark behead Will, the Night's Watchman, back in Season 1. Although the formation is made from stones, not ice, and some have been knocked down from time. What I believe this stands for is the double pentagram. If you draw the lines from the ice crystals, you will see that you get 2 pentagrams, one upright and one inverted. That symbol represents the duality of nature, dark and light, ever in flux. In essence, this symbol is like a magical yin and yang. Like the duality of ice and fire, this symbol is supposed to be very powerful and can be used to support any magical purpose. In this case, for the Night King, I believe he is using it as a power booster for his spells of creating new White Walkers from Craster's babies. So now we have to flash forward to Season 7 and those cave drawings discovered by Jon. In the cave drawings, we see once again the 2 original symbols from Season 1 and 3, but we also see new ones too. This image, I believe, represents the Night King, and the new symbol next to it, I believe, represents his army of the dead. That symbol is very similar to a design used to signify a race called Zerg from a well-known science fiction game called StarCraft. We all know that George R.R. Martin is a big sci-fi fan. Not that I think he is a big gamer, but we have to remember these symbols were made or chosen by the showrunners. With all that in mind, I believe it would be GRRM approved. This game is so well known and has been so popular that the word Zerg has now become a common term used by the online gaming community. Zerg in this use means to assure one's victory by using overwhelming numbers or to greatly outnumber the enemy and swarm them, which sounds a lot like the same purpose for the army of the dead. Although the Zerg race in the StarCraft game are actually biologically advanced aliens, which are very different from the seemingly mindless army of the dead, there are also some distinctive similarities that stood out to me. Here is a rundown of some of their common characteristics. They are hive-minded. They travel as swarms. They are known to be terrifying and ruthless, relentlessly hunting down and assaulting their foes in order to overwhelm them. They have the ability to make extreme numbers in a short period of time, unified by absolute obedience to an overmind. I'm sure there are even more similarities, but hopefully the ones I listed sufficiently support my theory. Okay, so now I want to go back in Season 1 Episode 10. We saw another symbol. This symbol was created by Dany for Khal Drogo's funeral pyre. I think this symbol represents Dany. I think it refers back to the story told by Doria to Dany from Season 1, Episode 2. Dany was talking about dragons with her handmaidens, and the story went something like this. Doria told Dany that she had heard a story about the dragons coming from the moon, that the moon was once an egg, and once there were 2 moons in the sky, but that one wandered too close to the sun and cracked from the heat, spilling thousands of dragons into the world, while her other handmaidens protested, saying it was known that the moon was a goddess, wife to the sun. Khal Drogo refers to Dany as the moon of my life, and he is Dany's sun and stars. The moon symbol, I think, represents a woman, whereas the sun represents man. In Doria's story, she claims that the moon wandered too close to the sun. I think this is symbolic of a woman and a man who lay together or had sex, which produced a pregnancy. The moon cracking and spilling dragons into the world, I believe, is the actual birth of that child. What if this story was told over the years from a prophecy of the return of the dragon bloodline? Dany, I believe, is the second moon. She is special. She is the blood of the dragon, and her children are special too. They will be dragons. Rhaego is a dragon. If you haven't seen my Rhaego theory video, please make sure you check it out. It's titled The Return of Khal Drogo, and it's actually probably my favorite theory. So I believe these symbols may represent Dany and the birth of Rhaego and the return of the dragon bloodline back into the world. Now this monstrosity I'm still unsure of. I will have to put a little more thought into it. At this time I was thinking it could possibly refer to the Great Weirwood Network, the rings being symbolic of the rings inside the trunk of a tree, the arms reaching outward similar to the arms of a tree branching out. Even some of the coloring of the roof painting seems like I can almost imagine the red leaves that cover the branches, although it could very well just be the shadowing. I would love to hear any input from anyone on this symbol. And now for the interesting cave drawings of the White Walkers. The first time I saw this, the first thing that jumped out to me was the fact that it looked as if the Night King had facial hair. That white beard, and how our current day Night King is definitely different since he has no hair at all. I know a lot of people out there believe that there must be 2 separate Night Kings, or possibly even more through the years. That with one simple picture of the Night King with hair must surely mean that he is looking for a possible replacement, and that is what he has brought the White Walkers back, and that Jon Snow might very well be that replacement. But of course, I've just got to be different in my line of thinking, and I'm going to quote the amazing Arya and say, that's not me. So here is what I think. Has anyone ever noticed that every one of the White Walkers all have hair and beards, at least from what I can tell? With exception to our one and only Night King? I think there is 2 possible reasons for this. Number 1 reason could be the simple fact that he is the oldest of all the White Walkers. Could this just be a simple case of hair loss from the old age of the first White Walker? It sounds kind of funny, but it really could be one of the reasons. Think about it. When we see the original guy, who I believe is a Valyrian dragon lord, becoming the Night King, he has a short beard and mustache. Then later, in the cave drawings, we see him represented with a long beard and mustache. And current day, he has no beard or mustache. Same thing could be said for the other White Walkers we see. All of them have different hairstyles and lengths of beards. But if we are assuming that they originally started from a human baby form, like we seen the Night King turn Craster's baby into a White Walker, then they must have all started with no hair or beards. So they must have grown over time, just the same as they would have done in their human form. The only other reason I think that our Night King might have no hair could be due to, wait for it, manscaping. You heard me right. That manscaping could be for a couple of reasons. One being similar to the Dothraki tradition. Maybe the Night King cut and shaved his beard because he, in essence, lost the first battle with mankind during the original fight for Dawn. Therefore, he would have had his hair and beard at the time of the cave drawings, but then once he retreated or made his pact with mankind, like I believe, it was counted as a loss and shaved his white locks for that purpose. Or maybe he is just simply doing a little bit of manscaping in preparation for his beautiful bride-to-be, his betrothed, Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen. Sadly, I'm not even joking, but I wish I were. Please watch my Who is the Night King theory video for more information on that. Well, I think that about covers it all for me, at least for now. There is one more symbol that I have done some research on that if I get enough information, I will turn it into a video, and that would be about the Night King's sigil on his armor. Even if it turns into a short video, I may do that too. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. There was a lot to cover, but I really enjoyed making it. Remember, I am new, so any likes, shares, comments, or subscriptions are definitely appreciated. I would love to hear any feedback from any fans out there listening. You can always find or message me on Facebook too. I'm thinking of doing an abbreviated video for my longer theory videos in the future for the fans who do not like listening to long videos. If I do, I will mention it at the beginning of any review type video. Thank you again, and please have a great day.